All right, click the links to join the channel here over at SubScribestar. So a lot of stuff on YouTube now is, oh hey, another movie's coming out, and it's going to be race swapped and feminist and diverse, and it's going to suck. And that seems to be more often than not. And it's obviously the comics had their run where diversity in comics went through, and he pointed that out, that more and more of them were sucking to the point where, oh, it's just like you can just put this hobby behind you. And then they did that with movies, and now it's coming for video games, and it seems like it's coming for all of pop culture. And as someone pointed out on Twitter, he goes, you don't need to buy new video games or even listen to new music or even watch new movies. The reason this stuff works is the fear of missing out. It's a psychological trick, but once you recognize that and get past it, you're like, oh, I guess I really can just be done from all of modern pop whatever. Heaven forbid you put down the video games and read a book. So Gal Gadot, people get so pissed when I say that, appears to confirm rumors of new Snow White reshoots after film was reportedly testing poorly and a mess. Shocking. Who saw this coming? So Snow White, if you're an SJW, please don't watch. This is the wrong channel for you. You're just going to get angry and you're going to leave a long passive-aggressive comment, which is so effing annoying. And given the preamble is pretty lame, I know, but it has stopped the SJWs from commenting and watching. So Snow White is kind of the perfect storm, but in a negative, and there's just such absolute pussies. In a negative way, guys, think about this. The right wing is beyond done with the woke feminist interpretation of Zegler and Gadot. They're doing these interviews and they go, yeah, we don't need a man. So the story of Snow White is about the prince, I think Prince Charming maybe, and the seven dwarves, which apparently in this version they don't have seven dwarves or something. That's some diverse cast of United Colors, a Bennington type of thing. So they don't need a man. So it's just two girl bosses running around out stunning and braving each other. I mean, that's like, if you've been paying attention to Hollywood over the past 5 to 10 years, that has not worked. Oh yeah, but we'll make it up in volume. That doesn't work either. But all your excuses are not working. Hollywood in general makes these movies and they continue to effing lose money. So and then the other issue is you have two very non-European women playing European roles. I think Snow White's a German story, maybe. I don't know who wrote it. Maybe it's Hans Christian Andersen. The thing is, it should be accurate, right? But the left wing is not going to be on board because of the conflict that's happening right now for the past 6 or 7 months over in that warm sandy spot, because unfortunately for these ladies, both of the actors are from that area, and on the left, in the left-wing culture war, Zegler and Gadot are on the wrong side. And I remember when Wonder Woman 1 came out, there was a little bit of an issue back then because she was a soldier on the side of, in their words, a colonizer, oppressor type of thing, because everything is viewed through the Frankfurt School lens of, you set up a bifurcation, a binary to divide people as much as possible. So there's no nuance. So it's just oppressor and oppressed. It's like it's all nonsense, but these people have been brainwashed into believing it. And so apparently deleting kids is frowned upon. Who knew? So how do you delete kids? You lead them less. So the woke crowd is already kind of sour on her, and the movie was mediocre. It was just that Wonder Woman, relative to all the other crap that had come out at the time, had been an improvement. But it was cultural appropriation, because obviously Gadot is not Greek or South American, wherever the hell that myth, Diane the Hunter, wherever that myth is set, I think. So it's sort of evil that Hollywood would use a non-Greek or even European or even South American actor, but the rules apply sometimes and then other times they don't apply. And then she did Wonder Woman 84, which was horrible, absolutely bummed, and it came out during the Wu flu, so they released it in the theaters where it tanked because people were scared of going to the theaters, and then they released it on, I think, HBO or something, and it was probably didn't do that well either. But at least they had the excuse of, oh, well, this is just wrong timing because that whole psych op thing that apparently people believed. And And it's like, no, you could watch the movie. It was friggin' horrible. And then someone pointed out that she kidnapped, that looks horrible, kidnapped and snuggled a guy while her boyfriend's spirit inhabited the body. Honestly, I don't remember that movie that well. But again, the rules go out the window when the victim is a blonde male. And that movie was 2.5 hours of just feminist, liberal self-pleasure, where every evil character had blonde hair. You can go back and watch that movie if you have the testicular fortitude to sit through 2.5 hours for it and take notes. Patty Jenkins really seems to have some issues with white people. Anyway, so this other lady, Zegler, seems to just be legitimately so far up her ass in love with herself that she really doesn't see herself how the world sees her, as an insufferable echo chamber twat. When Snow White was gearing up doing their publicity, every interview she did, she sounded like she didn't respect her co-star or Disney or the story of Snow White. She seemed like she assumed that she was the important part and her fans would just go see her in whatever she is, but she's not as big a star as she thinks she is. And I was looking for a thumbnail, so I went on an AI graphic, and they didn't know who or what Rachel Zegler looked like. They knew I need a picture of Gal Gadot and Rachel Zegler, and they just knew what Gadot looked like, and they had her mostly in her Wonder Woman because the AI picks up that was her most important role. Anyway, so I mean, honestly, she seems, I don't know if she's just so far up. I mean, these people are this bizarre level of narcissism where you can't tell. They're I don't know. You can't tell if they're slow or if they're intoxicated, or I mean, if they really just kind of believe this kind of thing. It got to the point where her interviews were so bad that I think Disney took her aside and said, "Okay, can you do some rehab to try to save this movie in the next interviews?" And it seemed like she tried, but she kept putting her foot in her mouth, because actors don't really see themselves or the world as anything other than something to support their narcissism. So the internet was roasting her and Snow White, and the thing with the dwarves just looked ridiculous, and they had actors stand in, and it was all a bunch of non-German people who were tall. It's like, but it's Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. Yeah, we're not going to do that. And Prince Charming, nah, he's got to go too. It's like, why do you call it Snow White then? Well, because we want name recognition. This is, Hollywood does this bait and switch thing. They've done it for everything for the past at least 5 years. So she was getting roasted, and really, I'd like to see some actual Germans play the role, and not whatever these are. But race swapping is okay as long as they erase European people. Though I will say, people are kind of awakening to this issue, and the Hollywood people who suck the life out of everything, like ticks, everything they touch just turns to crap so they can push their Bolshevik values. Anyway, people were not on board with the new Snow White, and the patriarchy and whatever is it, like the hot words of the day is like, these movies don't age well because it's all very, very topical with this woke bullshit stuff. So they delayed the movie to give it some time for people to forget how much they hate these actors. The problem being that Disney kept making bombing movies, as has Hollywood in general with the vagina power movies that have been popular lately. The other thing is that, like, that issue over in the Sandy place where these chicks are on the wrong side. So when the publicity comes out for this next round of Snow White 2025, well, the right wing seems to kind of have I don't know if they've stopped going to movies entirely, but they have cut back massively. So Disney's going to have another $200 million movie plus $100 million in advertising plus, I don't know, $50 million to $100 million in delay costs, and you're going to have a movie that is almost certainly going to bomb, which for Disney will have been, a long string of movies that are losing serious chunks of money, and specifically, this girl power, girl boss, feminist type of movies. The Marvels, I don't know what that cost, with Brie Larson, which actually wasn't as horrible as it just like didn't come together. Like, she was the wrong person for the role. But that movie lost money, and then Madam Web came out, and like nobody saw that, just because. And the movie was probably okay. I gotta admit, I didn't see that one. But a lot of these movies are the well is just poisoned already. It's fruit of the poison tree or something. And it was like that with the last movie that I forget the name of it, where people were people were getting mad at people criticizing the movie, and they're going like, it wasn't that woke. It's just like I said, people have a hair trigger to woke. I just review. Hold on, should I look it up? Hold on one sec. Furiosa was the movie with I don't know who was in it. It wasn't horrible, but I think it lost. Yeah, it definitely lost money. It totally bombed, which is probably a $200 million movie as well. No, wait, maybe that was a little bit less, but whatever. It lost money because even though it wasn't absolutely horrible, we have this hair trigger where if there's any wokeism whatsoever, we're just done with it. Where a couple years ago we would have tolerated some preachiness, and now myself, I have zero tolerance for it, which means I have zero tolerance for Hollywood in total, which means I'm done with Hollywood. No loss there. Like there's plenty of books to read. So people have this, if they see a chick in the lead, they're not going to see the movie. And when the next Disney Star Wars comes out with Daisy Ridley, I don't know what they're going to call it, something stupid. Nobody's going to see that movie because it's a chick in it. And make it diverse, make it lame, make it feminist, probably make her gay. People, this Disney streaming like The Acolyte is probably the worst thing. That it's poisoning the big budget movie releases, because they're making these. The Acolyte, you look at The Acolyte like this, what the fuck is this? This doesn't look like Disney at all. You want it to look like 77 Star Wars? Yeah, that's Star Wars. The 77 Star Wars with the four main actors. That you set the tone and vibe of Star Wars. And they go, well, it's not diverse enough. It doesn't have to be. The left wing says they value diversity. I value the artist's original intention. He set the tone from 77 to 83. He made 3 decent movies that were for kids, and also adults could watch them. And they were decent movies, and they actually hold up pretty well. They weren't Shakespeare or anything, but they were fun. And you look at The Acolyte and a lot of the other Disney streaming stuff, and go like, this doesn't look like them. And they have the knee-jerk reaction where they have to have diversity, even though the audience doesn't want it. And when you simply point out, yeah, we're not on board diversity or feminism, girl power, all that kind of stuff. We're not these left-wingers. Your values are different from ours. And all they have is an emotional reaction. And you can tell because they ad hominem and straw man, and every other argument is, you pay for Twitter, you have a blue check mark. And it's nonsense argument. And you go, if you couldn't make personal attacks and you couldn't strawman the argument, what would you say? It's like, oh, well, there's nothing to say because you like Star Wars as it was created. It was a pretty decent movies. I'll give Disney credit for Rogue One. That was all right. And Solo wasn't horrible either. But people by that time were done with Disney. And they go, oh, you want it to look like that? Yeah, that's the alpha and omega. The story was written. It was the Genesis and the end was Revelation, was that story. You have to stay with the framework, and it's like, yes, it was white people that were in the movie. That was mostly the story, and it looked like they belonged together, they meshed, they vibed. And when you make it diverse, people are not fungible. If you made an all-black movie, I'd be like, keep it all, stay black, brothers, stay black, stay black. Don't make it Asian or European. It's all this cast of characters. The same for if you made a Chinese movie. You go, oh, we're going to put some Swedish people. I'd be like, that's ridiculous. People can have their own movies. If you set the tone of some story, leave it the F alone. No, we're not going to do that. Because they're not making movies. They're not making organic art, which is... organic storytelling is very right-wing. Very far nationalist, blood tribe, ethno-nationalist. It's very right-wing. It even predates Christianity. It's Euro-paganism. It's tied into tribalism. That's what makes good stories. That's why Lord of the Rings by Tolkien was so powerful. And that's why Hollywood is, you look at The Acolyte or Rings of Power, you go, this doesn't make sense because it's diverse. This is not how people behave. And you go, oh, well, it's fiction. It's not a fictional story that people want to see because it doesn't aspirate, doesn't aspire to greatness. People look at this. It's like the difference between ElfQuest, if you read that comic book, and Lord of the Rings, where ElfQuest was, it got to halfway through the series, and then it got preachy and woke, where they had a diverse character, and they gave you the message about how the diverse character is just the same as the fair skinned person of the light. And you're like, this isn't, like, most people don't care about racial politics one way or the other. You just want to see the organic story, and you're not seeing that. And it's like there's such an emotional response to these kids today who they've been brainwashed to hear this kind of, like, someone being honest about, yeah, well, I don't value diversity, feminism, those are not my values, and I speak for millions of people. And they just have an emotional response to that, where it's ad hominem. You go, how did you learn this feeling? Did you learn it from your family, from Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, the great intellects of the age? No, I learned it from TV. Everything I know about a subject, I learned from Hollywood. Well, like, you don't know anything about the subject. You know what Hollywood wants you to know. It's never the truth, and it's not exactly the opposite. It's just a narrative. And for the past 60 years of Hollywood, it's been this slippery slope to get people to where they are now, where you have something like The Acolyte is a great example. Rings of Power is a perfect example. You look at it, you're like, this is just Bolshevik propaganda. Saul Alinsky, Frankfurt School, this is like a checklist of propaganda. And the kids, it's generational incremental brainwashing to get the kids on board with it. Anyway, chick flicks, people are not on board with that because people have patriarchal values. They believe in the prince going off on an adventure, say rescuing the princess, and then having a big family together. That's what people in their core believe. And now SJWs might get on Twitter and lie, but they don't believe that because they see the way of the world now, and it's single women who, you know, hit 35 and they wish they got married and have kids, and it's tragic when you see this. Or you see BLT relationships, and that doesn't sell because people look at that and go, that's the left-hand path and not the right-hand path, because dexterous goes to life. It goes to family and tribalism and go forth and prosper, you know, Christianity and predating Christianity. The left is a same couple, and nothing comes from that. When they die, the story's over, and that's why it's subtly dark. Like, your subconscious looks at that and you're like, I'm not into that. I want life. Even if it's like, I'd rather see a story of a tribe that's not mine goes, tell us a Chinese story, but they go forth and they bring life and the right hand path, and they grow their tribe. And it's not this, oh no, we're diversifying. It's like, well, that's the Bolshevik found family concept, and it's a very recent concept where you cut off your tribal roots. Like, oh, we value diversity. No, you don't. The people saying this, preaching this, don't. Anyway, so how much money can Disney lose? In Hollywood in general, you're going to find out we're going to find out together in the next 5 years. And you're probably wondering, will Disney stop the woke and turn itself around? Absolutely not. That's not on the table whatsoever. Disney is controlled by people who worship darkness. And this is their religion. They don't care. They don't care about the money of the shareholders, because, you know, shareholder money it's other people's money. And even if they hold shares themselves, a lot of them do, and it's their money, they still don't care. This is a religion. Nature abhors a vacuum, as does mankind. Apparently there's a part in the brain that has a place for spirituality, and these people, they got rid of religion, and something just immediately swooped in. You leave it open and parasites are going to come in, and that's what came in with Bolshevism or globalism, whatever you want to call it. This is their new religion. The right wing has Christianity, it's got Euro-paganism, and even sort of a spiritual nationalist ancestor worship like you see with Japanese, pretty much. But the left has got Bolshevism, and they need to destroy the world and virtue signal while they do it. Anyway, Hollywood is going to be interesting, but as for the people making videos, like the big YouTube channels, how do you keep making videos when everything it sucks? It just sucks in new ways, and Hollywood's not going to turn around. I mean, I guess keep making videos as long as people want to watch them, but it does seem like that's the future of Hollywood, where you're going to see a fundamental change for the worse. But I mean, for us, it's good because this is that image. Holy shit! Where they're finally taking the mask off, and saying this is what we are. We're out and out, you know, out and out followers of the Bolshevik head in chief. So 7 dwarves, right? So it's 7 people who are under a certain height who want to be actors. I'm guessing that Hollywood does not throw a lot of money at people who are under, 5 feet tall or whatever category of a dwarf is. And, these people would have earned a pretty good paycheck for like 6 months of work instead of being a grocery clerk or something. They could have taken 6 months off to do this and make 200 grand or, so this other guy who was in who was in Game of Thrones, I forget this guy's name. He's in a bunch of movies. Peter Jenkins or something. And he said, no, there shouldn't be any little people in this movie. It's very insulting to hire dwarves. And you would have paid them, $200,000 for a few months' work. And the actors who Hollywood is just not breaking down their doors are looking around like, thanks, dude, thanks for that. That was would have been a hot tub. But no, thank you for saving us from ourselves. That worked out great. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you guys all. Well, I don't know how much longer I'll see you on YouTube, but Odyssey, BitChute, and definitely SubScribe.